Peterson, who pitched really well last night, especially through the third inning, and I think everybody was wondering whether or not he was going to be able to get out of that quirky double play in that inning for sure to get him out of it and only give up one run. But at the end of the day, we finally had a pitcher that went out on a mound, won his first victory in his first attempt. Steven Matz was the last to do that for the Mets back in 2015, and it was great. Now, the Mets are an interesting club because they do have an interesting lineup. They can hit home runs. I think J.D. Davis should have 2 home runs. That home run on Monday night looked to be a home run that was taken away from him when it was called foul, when it went over the monster. But yesterday he hits the pesky pole, and it all looked good. It looked like that was the Met offense, in the last 2 nights at least, the Met offense that we are expecting to see on a daily basis. However, their defense in the field still remains a mystery. There are some very interesting plays that happen. Guys throw balls all over the place. At times it's very like Little League-ish when you really watch it, and they need to tighten up that part of the game if they want to have a chance to go deep into the playoffs. But I'm happy. They won these 2 games that they should have won. Everybody was expecting their lineup to wake up a little bit more against this, pitching-less Boston Red Sox team that it's hard to believe 2 years ago was in the World Series and had one of the best pitching staffs, now has one of the worst pitching staffs, and the Mets are making the most of it, and now they have to play 2 at Citi Field against the same team, and Jacob deGrom is going tonight. Now, for the Yankees, look, Major League Baseball is trying to, do whatever they can to keep the season going. And when you really look at what the Marlins situation is turning out to be, Major League Baseball is pointing the fingers at the players. And they're saying, look, man, when you're away from the game, when you're away from the stadium, and when you're at the stadium, you have to practice the protocols. You have to know what the protocols are. I would think that the Miami Marlins are going over all of those protocols with their players over the last few days. I like the fact that Major League has adjusted. They are now sending the Yankees down to Baltimore. I think that's fine. There have been over 6,500 tests in baseball. A lot of teams are COVID-19 free. This happens to be a single team outbreak that is affecting other teams, of course. Philadelphia, the Yankees, and then, of course, the Nationals and their players decided, hey, we don't want to go to Miami if we're going to, go this weekend like we're scheduled to. And then, of course, Major League Baseball puts out an announcement that players can't do that. Players can't decide what to do and what not to do in the middle of the season. So I think that putting the Miami Marlins season on pause is smart. I think that's exactly what you should do. And as everybody, after the initial hysteria around this, people now are starting to calm down. And decisions are being made, with hopes that they'll get through this season and they'll fight through situations like this as long as other teams don't have an outbreak of this significance. So here we are. We're in the middle of a pause season for one team. We have other teams moving to other places. The Phillies are on pause a little bit because they got to wait until the tests come back. But for the most part, I think the reaction was swift by Major League Baseball, and I also think there was somewhat of an overreaction in the general media following of all of this. But now cooler heads are prevailed, and the Yankees will play tonight, and Garrett Cole will take them out.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is the part of, as we were talking earlier, the idea that you don't have fans and tickets to distribute and refunds. It makes it very easy to swap up these games and schedules, especially when you're dealing regionally like we are in this case with the Phillies and the Nationals, not the Nationals, the Orioles, the Yankees. I know the Marlins are in Miami, but because you had them all playing one another, very, very easy to just switch things up, continue the season. The fact that, as you point out, almost 6,500 tests came back all negative aside from what happened with the Marlins. You can make every case that every other team is doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're being responsible. And I'm not talking about the celebration. I don't mean that. I mean when they leave the ballpark, negative tests as we are seeing, or at least telling me that they are acting responsibly. The other stuff is something that still needs to be worked on, and those are hard habits to break, and I get that. But I like what they did. I thought they acted in a timely manner. I feel like they kept everything on track. I don't think it's crazy. Like there were people that said, cancel the season. Can't have this. Yeah. That, to me, is a knee-jerk reaction, understandably so, but didn't need to be the case. And I think baseball acted appropriately here. It's one team. It's not several teams. The one thing that is different, and we've talked about the bubble teams doing really well with the testing, especially in Orlando. Like MLS has done well, but we sometimes forget that there was a team or two that was basically excused because they had issues early on. Baseball can't do that, I don't believe. So they have to fight their way through this, and the Marlins have to change their habits a little bit going forward. And when they come back on the field on Monday, hopefully this is behind them.
It may only be one or two players that is
Sure.
put everybody else in jeopardy. And I think, as we were saying yesterday, Joe Girardi basically said we shouldn't have played Sunday. They shouldn't have. And the way that whole thing was decided that the Marlins were going to play, that the players on a text thread said, oh, we should go and play even though we have 4 players tested positive, is ridiculous. And that's part of the commissioner and his office, they have a responsibility to reinforce the protocols to make sure every team understands it. Now, you have some players that, David Price, who opted out, who is basically bitching and complaining about Major League Baseball players and the health. But then you have other players like the New York Yankees who are like, hey, our protocols are fine. And even Brandon Nimmo during the broadcast last night, they were talking about what he had said. Look, the Mets are doing everything they possibly can to keep us healthy. We have a close team, we have a good team, and we're going to do everything that we possibly can in our power to keep ourselves healthy. So we understand what the protocols are. So both New York teams want to play. The players want to play, and they want to be on the field. They want to be doing their thing. So there's so many mixed messages. So that's why when you read these articles, you got to understand where they're coming from. Is there an agenda attached to it? Is baseball going to, collapse under all of this? As of right now, I think baseball is handling it about as well as you possibly can. The players want to play. We want to watch them play. I'm sure the ratings for the Mets and the Red Sox have been very good on SNY the last 2 nights. I'm sure they're going to be very good coming up over the next week or so. It's just fun watching baseball again. So I cannot wait for the Yankees to get back on the field tonight and to see what they look like again, because they want to play. And don't lose sight of the fact that the players decided that they wanted to come back, that they were going to take less money, and they were going to risk playing through a pandemic. So that's all happening right now, which I think, whether everybody thinks the way that I do, I don't expect that, but I think it's a good thing. And I think fighting through it, not overreacting, and adjusting on the fly, and making some pretty significant decisions within the middle of a schedule, takes a lot of stones. I think that's what Rob Manfred is showing right now.
Like you said, nobody's forcing them to play. They're getting paid to play. If they want to play, great. If they don't, opt out, and that's where we're at. I'm with you. I think it's great that they're there, and I do think it can be done safely, as we're seeing from the other teams. Granted, only 4, 5, 6 games in. I guess 5 games in. The Rays now 4-1. The Yankees are 2-1. But I'm glad. We drive around, we see people working in all different fields. Whether you go to the supermarket, whether you can call them whatever you want, essential, non-essential. So there are plenty of non-essential businesses that are open, and employees are there, and they're taking all the proper precautions. Well, I would think, could be wrong about this, but I would think, like guys from the Yankees said, I think wasn't it Zach Britton that said the Yankees have gone above and beyond to make us comfortable and feel safe.
Rep.
Right.
And he's the player rep.
So to me, A, they make a lot of money. God bless them. B, if anybody is going to be taken care of better, you show me. Because I would like to think that these teams are taking every precaution possibly that is necessary to keep their players safe. So I know what David Price is saying. I don't agree with him. I know where he's coming from. But again, I think baseball did the right thing. I think cooler heads prevailed. They figured things out, and away we go.